This was like Malona. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Okay, guys, join the class. Join the Google class. Ignore my hair. You can use it. See how it works. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Excuse me. I need the energy. Okay. You don't have it? Yeah, you got to bring it to class.
Yeah, that's so young. Herborist. Thank you.
See the markets today?
Yeah, I know. It's really bad. Thank China for it.
Hey?
Thank China.
Thank
China for it.
Oh, yeah. That one come down.
Construction, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be, it could get worse before it gets better. So,
I don't know what. I couldn't see that one coming.
well, how do you know? Right?
Okay, guys, ladies, gents, let's say a prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Shh. We'll pray for, maybe offer a prayer for my friend. He suffered a heart attack, so I'm going to pray, glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, never shall be, world without end. Amen. So we are going to start where we left off a while back on formula rearrangement. So you already had some notes on it. I'm going to continue that. Once again, I'm going to see how it works with you using your computers to watch this on. You're only to have one tab open. If I catch you with other tabs open, then I'm going to rethink things and do it on the board. That's a little more difficult. I'm going to record it still with you. This makes it easier for me. I can easily record it. Well, I can do it either way, but I'd rather do it this way. Let's see how it works. I know it's clear for you. I'm trying to make the screen as big as I can. Okay, so we're going over basic algebra, except we're no longer using X and Y. We'll use what's called different variables, different letters. Start off with this. Solve for. I'm just going to randomly choose different variables to solve for. Shh. Solve for E. So I'll go through it with you. It'll get a little more complicated, but this is just the basics. I'll rewrite it. Okay. I'll solve for the E. Now notice these are all letters. We call them variables. They represent numbers. So whatever rules I use for numbers, I can use for the variables. So this is just a 2 multiplied with an E, multiplied with an A, multiplied with a K. I want to solve for the E. I'm going to do the opposite. If these numbers are multiplied with the E, to remove them, I do the opposite. I'll do it with the 2 first. I can do it one at a time if I want. Divide both sides by 2. Whatever I do on the right, I do on the left. I get EAK. I can continue doing this one at a time if I want, or I can do it all at once. I'll do it one at a time just to give an idea. I'm going to divide the right side by A. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do on the left. I have to place the A underneath the R. The A will cancel out on the right. Okay, I'm just working through it one at a time, but you don't have to go every step as I've done here. You can divide all of them at once. Divide the right side by K because I want to isolate, solve for the E. Whatever you do on the right, do the same thing on the left. Make sure that this line underneath the R is extended. K cancels out on the right. So I get R divided by 2 times A times K is equal to E. That is my final answer. Let's look at, that's my number 1. Now my number 2. Yeah. Yeah, you have to bring it to each class. Yeah. Okay, now you've got 3 terms. Each of these is called a term. This is a term. That's a term. That's a term. This is supposed to be a, can't write properly like this. Give me a sec, guys. That's a term. This T here is also a term. So we've got 3 terms that are added with each other. We're going to solve for the K. You notice here we've got a K multiplied with the S. So for a general rule, you're solving for the K. Ignore that. If you're solving for the K and it's included in one of the terms, solve for this term first. I'll highlight that in red. I'm going to solve for that term first, and then I'll solve for the K. I'm going to remove each of these terms by doing the opposite. So G is some positive number. I'm going to subtract it from the right side. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do on the left. And that'll cancel the G out. E minus G. I'm left with just the KS plus the T. Okay, so T is just some positive number. I'm going to remove it by doing the opposite. It's a positive number, subtract it. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do on the left. Cancels out on the right. I get E minus G minus T on the left is equal to KS. And I want to solve for the K. And the K is multiplied with the s. They're just numbers. A is multiplied with the s. So you do the opposite. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. I'm going to divide the s out. Whatever you do on the right, you have to do on the left. The other rule is this: extend the line over the whole expression. This is called, two or more terms are called an expression. So divide the whole expression by putting a line underneath it. And you can put the s there. Then the s will cancel out on the right, and you got your final expression. Solve for it. This is just algebra, except you're now using different letters instead of x and y. Let's try this out. Solve for the m. Just numbers. Whatever rules you'd use for math, you're going to use for these variables. So if there's any, this is the first term. This is term 2. If there's a term like k here that's added to the first term, remove that first. We're solving again for the m. Remove the k. Move the term that does not contain the variable you're solving for. That's a v squared there. We're going to see that a lot. And this is, for clarity's sake, this is a half. Again, I like circling what I'd like to solve for. Now you've got two numbers multiplied with the m. You've got a half, and the v squared is just a number. That's all it is. That's multiplied with the m as well. So do the opposite. The easiest one to deal with is the v squared. I'll divide that out first. Remember, the rule is divide the whole expression. Put a line under both terms. I'm trying to write this neatly for you. Okay, half is just a number. You can divide that out. Probably easiest to just multiply by 2. That's a trick in general. Multiply by 2, that'll cancel out the 2 on the bottom. Whatever you do on the right, you have to do on the left. The rule is put the whole expression that you're multiplying. Put the whole expression you're multiplying in brackets. And that's your answer. Now try this as out. This one out. Excuse me. This one here is a little different. Try this out. This, whenever you see a letter below the main variable, this is the variable. This is not a separate variable. If it's slightly below it, it's called a subscript. It's part of the variable. It's part of the variable. Stays with it. You move it around with the variable. Okay, so I'll make this one up. So solve for this. Remember this is a subscript here. It stays with the F. Give that a try, and we'll do it together. You can talk. This is a plus here, right? Yeah. Well, no. Oh. Okay, so again, I've got a number here that's a set of variables and 5 multiplied with the variables g and n. It's just a number. It's a positive number. I remove it from the right by subtracting it. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do on the left. So it'll cancel out on the right. Again, circle it. This is a funny looking, this is a Greek letter. Greek letter is pronounced mu. We're going to remove it. It's just a number, represents a number. Multiplied with the Fn. Do the opposite. Divide both sides by that Greek letter. Looks like a U. Remember to put a line under both terms on the left. Divide it by the mu. Just a number, so it'll cancel out. That's your answer. Couple more. These are subscripts. They mean something. Now we're getting to a little bit more meaning physically. V stands for speed with the direction. The actual term is velocity. Think of it as speed. I stands for initial, or starting up. The speed that you start at. Initial speed. F represents the speed that you end up at, your final speed. Later in time. Later in time. We'll use that throughout the course. You'll see that a lot. So, I don't know. Solve for, common one is this. I like solving for the A. We do that often. So I'll rewrite it. This is just a number. I know it represents the speed, initial speed, but it's just a number. It's a positive number. So just subtract it from the right and do the same thing on the left. I'm left with just this term that contains what I'm solving for. Contains the A. Multiplied with a number, that's all it is. T represents some number. We don't know what it is. Doesn't matter. Just use the rules of math. Divide the right side by that. Do the same thing on the left by putting a line under both terms, the full expression. Put a T underneath it. T is a number, so it cancels out. We'll use this often. This is an actual equation we use quite often. This stands for final speed, initial speed. T stands for time. A stands for acceleration. Deal with that later, but. Yeah, I'll do one more here. 6. Oh my. Okay, let's try this out. D. Actually, I'll make it simpler. Let's make it simpler. Forget about this term. I'll rewrite it here. Let's do this. You'll see this often too. Okay, solve for the T. You can deal with whatever variable or factor you want. First, I'm going to deal with the A, remove that. I'm going to divide it out. Whatever I do on the right, I do on the left. I'm left with this. Just a reminder, I want to solve for the t. You can divide by half. You can multiply by half. Multiply by 2. I'll multiply by 2. That will cancel out the 2 on the bottom. And I do the same thing on the left. I'm showing you every step. When you're doing it, you don't have to go through every step as I do. You do have to show, obviously, some work. Now, we're not done. We have to solve for the t, not the t squared. Almost done. The opposite operation to squaring is the square root. I'm going to put a square root here. Whatever I do on the right, I do on the left. This square root, what I've got in yellow here on the right, that will cancel out the square. It's the opposite of squaring the t. Take the square root. That leaves me with kind of like this. If I had an x squared, if I took the square root, that just equals x. Same idea. That's your equation. You use that quite often too. So, give me a sec here. Just when I was getting used to the old one. Let's pull up the new schedule. Come on. Good. Okay, we got time. Okay, I've got a handout for you. I'll give that out to you. Just try the front page and the first 2 questions on the back. Try the front of this handout and the 2 pages on the back. Yeah. Here. You didn't just draw it. Some people didn't draw it. Okay, no. In front of this and the 2 questions on the back.
Just sign your
Like Roman numerals, they use that.
You just use the same, like, the same.
Did it take 5 minutes off?
Just go.
I don't know if you divide it or
You divide it.
subtract.
This is what I was memorizing the water.
You divide it.
When you're canceling out, if you subtract or divide it.
There you go. You like this? You got it, right. Okay, so try to do all this, and then the first 2 on the back. Actually, first 3 on the back. You can try the first 3 on the back.
Aaron? No, are you still on my lines? That's a great.
My first kid from 2016.
I think so, yeah. Yes. I like it.
Oh, if you just. How is that multiplied? You get multiplied by S. I just don't understand how you make it. I just don't understand how you. That's the
This one's separate. Yeah, it is. No way. So you're trying to get rid of the whole thing
Sure. I'll give you the answers to these in another 5-10 minutes for the front.
You don't need to do this, right?
Hold it, one tab. I see more than one tab. I'm going right to the overhead, or right to the projector.
Yeah, what if we have to do a class or tab open too?
Well, that's fine. Email?
You don't need
Thank you. What was the change?
all of this. Yeah, this is class.
Yeah. Like, I guess you just know about the other two.
Here, you can put it here, Mr. Lindback.
Yeah.
I'll take it off.
You can self-regate.
How are you doing? Yeah, I'll go over the hard one.
I'll just take it.
Huh?
It's like an H with like, no matter what, I don't really understand it.
Okay, so I'll go over some of the harder ones.
So, cause again, like, I don't know, like, how to determine whether you divide it, like,
Oh.
a fraction, or if you subtract the.
Yeah, two letters are next to each other, that means multiply. So you do the opposite.
Divide. And then only if there's like a plus, like these.
Yeah.
When you subtract.
Yeah, if there's difficult terms, so if you're trying to, let's say, solve for the F,
Yeah.
you remove any of the other terms by adding to, so you subtract. That those are basic. Whatever you do on the right, do on the left.
Wait, Chris.
No.
Or if we divide both sides by two.
Yeah, that's doing it all at once. I didn't do that one. Yes, that's. Yeah, like the E stands for like a two, the A stands for a two, like a two, so two, eight, divided by eight. Okay.
What is this, CJ? Yeah. That's 7. HM. H. What? HM. BW. TC. I'll go with the hard one. It's A.
That's sloppy, that should be an F, that should be an I. I was gonna point that out to you, thanks. So on the back side, someone's already got to that point, I was gonna point it out to, somebody's already there. For clarity's sake, on the back side where it says number 1, it should read, the first variable should read VF. It looks like a VI, it didn't copy right, VF. Okay, that should be more clear now. Well, you can keep it, I did copy that. You do? Yeah, we do a lot of it.
Chemistry 11.
It's algebra.
Oh. I wasn't in physics, I was in chemistry the whole time. That's why.
Are you still good?
I said it goes.
Check it. I'm still working on it. It's another minute. I'll go for it.
And half.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Check your answers. I'll go over some of the hard ones. Quick, maybe the 8. 8, 9. Oh, yeah, 8 and 9 on the front, right? 9 and 12. Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip down to on the front of the handout, number 9. That seems to be giving some difficulty. People, K, number 9. Okay, so I don't know how to center, how to remove you guys from the side, but okay, is that better? Not more centered? Better? Okay, number 9. We have H is equal to 2m over 3k. I'm going to go right to the harder one. That's the K. Solve for the K. Okay, it's a trick. When you have a variable in the denominator.
Please excuse interruption. Could Kylie Macalanda come to the office?
When you have a variable in the denominator, cross multiply. So this is over 1. H times 3k. 3k is just a number. Treat them like numbers. H times 3k is equal to 1 times 2m, which is just obviously 2m. This is a reminder. I'm trying to solve for the k. H is just a number like 3. Just like I can do this in algebra, I can divide by 2 numbers all at once. I can divide the H and the 3 out all at once. Just one number when you multiply them together. Whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. Cancels out here. I could have done this one step at a time. I could. You get K is equal to 2m divided by H times 3. Ten. I can solve for the K or the G. It's similar. So. Okay, it's not shown, but the half is multiplied with the K, which is multiplied with the G. And this is a subscript, which means it moves with the capital E. This is all one variable. The subscript tells you something about, E stands for energy. It's telling you something about the energy. What type of energy is it? I'm going to solve for the K. I like removing the half just by multiplying by 2. You can divide by half if you want, but I like multiplying both sides by 2. That will cancel out the 2. And that leaves me just with K times G. Okay, when you see 2 letters next to each other, that means they're multiplied. And I'm solving for the K. If the G is multiplied, to remove it, do the opposite. Divide. Do the same thing on the left. And that's my final answer. What does this mean? In physics, E stands for energy, So it's saying multiply the energy by 2. And this G stands for gravity, divided by the value for gravity. So in physics, these letters actually stand for something measurable or physical. That's your answer. Okay, I'm skipping some of them because, for example, G is solved in the same way. Going on to 11. Okay, let's be clear on the E. This is a subscript. It moves around with the capital F. It's one variable. I wrote out a similar one like this before. Let's solve for the K. I solved for the Fn in my example. Let's solve for the K. This is a term. This whole thing is a term. If I'm trying to solve for the K, I remove the term added to the term that contains the K. This is just some number, some positive number. So to remove it, I subtract it. It looks fancy, but it's really just a number like 5. How do you remove 5? Subtract 5. This should be equal to some number, for example, 5. Whatever you subtract on the right, you have to do on the left. Fancy letters. It all amounts to a simple number. Cancels out on the right. So why all these fancy letters? Because they represent something physically. Something you can measure, something you can define in the physical world. Solve for the K. What does this mean? What does this mean here? This, it's not shown, but this is a 2 multiplied with the G, multiplied with the K. So you do the opposite. If they're multiplied with each other, divide out whatever you don't need. You don't need the 2G. Trying to remove that. Just a number. 2 times G is like 2 times 3, 6. Divide the 6 out. Whatever you do on the right, draw a line under both terms. Do the same thing on the left. Keeps on changing to this ellipse. Cancel the 2 times G out. It looks fancy, but it's not. You're just playing with numbers. It's all algebra. Now, why do we do this? We do it because we need to solve for these different variables, and we need to get familiar with the different forms of equations when we rearrange them. We do this a lot. And if you get to be, not necessarily this one, but let's turn to the back side so you can get a better idea. Turn to the back side. I actually solved for number 3. I did it for you. I solved for T. That's actually a common rearrangement. We're given D is equal to number 3. D is equal to 1/2 AT squared. We're given that. And in many questions, we're asked to solve for the time. So how do you solve for the time? You could plug in numbers and then rearrange. More typically, what we do is we solve for the letter first. So we get, in this case, I went over it for you, but if you remember, it's right up here. Here it is. Okay. We need to know what the equation looks like to get familiar with it. And then when you rearrange, when you're asked to solve for the T, you know what to expect. Less likely to make a mistake. Okay, so back to Whoa. Back to number 12. Okay, that represents energy. E represents energy. Yeah. What type of energy is this? This stands for, K stands for kinetic. You remember that? Kinetic and potential. That's one way of writing kinetic energy with a subscript. Equal to, this is actually the wrong formula, but we'll play with it. Okay, solve for M. We're going to do M. That's a harder one, so solve for M. Look at that. I can draw perfect circles. Impressive, eh? I know. It took me like decades. You'll be able to do it too. Half times M squared times K. A half obviously is a number. The easiest way to get rid of it is just multiply by 2. Whatever you do on the right, do on the left. The 2 will cancel out, leaving you just with M squared times K. K is just a number you're multiplying with. Do the opposite to remove it. Divide it out. It cancels out here. Whatever you do on the right, do on the left. Draw the line underneath both factors, the 2 and the E. Almost there. What do I do to cancel out a square term? What's the, yeah, good. We learned it up above here. The opposite of squaring is take the square root. And whatever you do on the right, yeah, same rule. Yeah, if you didn't do that, you'd change the equation. But when you perform the same function on the left as you did on the right, nothing changes. And you just said it. The square root will cancel out the square, leaving you just with whatever letters underneath the square root, M. Now, here's the confusing part. I didn't actually write this. I'll just rewrite this here. Here's the confusing part. This, I'll put it in yellow. This is a variable. The K there is a variable. It's different than the K here. This is a subscript. Gets confusing. This subscript is telling you what type of energy it is. It's a kinetic energy. This K stands for something else. Just a number, yeah.
On number 10, for the answer, it says G equals 2 minus E.
Oh, it should be 2 times. That's actually, I know it looks like a minus, it's 2 times. Yeah, it doesn't look very clear, but it's 2 times. Okay. Now, get lost, Sari. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Now, on the other side, take a break. There are no breaks anymore in my category or definitions of words. On the other side, take a look at number 4 and 5. That has to be clarified, but I didn't ask you to go on to do number 4. 4 should be, for clarity's sake, it's not a division. It should be V. D is equal to VI times T plus. That's a plus. Not a division. Didn't show up. It's a plus. I didn't ask you to do it yet. That's why I'm making the correction now. Okay. And 5, VF squared is equal to VI squared plus 2AD. Okay. Now, you got another 10 minutes here. I want you to finish up to 5 on the, obviously, this side. If you did it, awesome. Now listen, finish up to number 5 on the back side. On the back side of the moon, right? On the dark side, on the back side of this handout. Secondly, you already did this, so I'm kind of just adding a little to it. Should have been pretty easy. You should have already done page 17. If you haven't done it, this is your chance to catch up. Page 17 to 18. You already did 4 to 7. I'm going to add 4 to 7 still. And number 9. Add number 9 onto it. Add that on Google Classroom too. Do option number 5 on the back side. Okay, I just posted your work. You got 5 more minutes. Any questions? Anyone got any questions? I'll play after school today. I'm here today. Listen, today's supposed to be for physics 12, but I don't know if they're going to be showing. You can come by today after school, tomorrow after school. I'll be here till, if you're not here by 2:15, I'm going for a walk. You can find me on the field.
Where's Sammy?
Sammy's leaving for Calgary.
What? Oh, it's okay. Let's do it. Just bring him for one last time.
Yeah, he's leaving for Calgary. They got rid of everything. No, they didn't sell Sammy. He's the only thing they're taking to Calgary. So their son is in Calgary and he's facing hard times, so pray for him. But they're moving to be more close to his son. Plus, one of their sons, he's kind of he's deaf, right? He's challenged, so they're taking him to L'Arche. You ever heard of that? It's a Catholic outreach that helps people who are deaf and blind and challenged that way. So they had a place here, unfortunately, in North Vancouver. Unfortunately, they were mishandling. They didn't deal with things properly. So L'Arche is actually the best place in the whole country. And there was an opening, so they took advantage of it. Plus, they're near their son. So Sammy's going with it. Sammy is not going to survive the cold weather, man. Sammy is just. So apparently he gets by with the, like spring snow, but. What's that? I'm probably good with yeah, sure. I don't need a dog. I like dogs. Everyone, I don't know. Animals tend to like me. I like animals. They're great. But Sammy's interesting. He's a weird dog, but he's a good dog. You like him? Yeah, what did he do that was strange?
Well, I took him up for a walk. It was raining in North Vancouver. I was south. I took him out for a walk. It was just down. He gets out, he looks at me, he does his thing, he looks at me, I go, come on, we're going to the umbrella. He comes to me, I keep walking, he pulls on the leash. I said, come on, we're going, I don't care. And he starts walking back to the apartment.
That's so cute. I love that.
When he gets to the apartment, he shakes himself out.
That's so cute.
I don't know, I don't understand.
Strawberries, I know you don't want to go.
Get that one done. That's not considered sexy. I mean, it is considered sexy.
Another thing, I will be posting, I think I told you if I didn't, I'll post the notes too. That helps, but that doesn't mean you're not responsible for note taking. You can format the notes in class in a question like format, and then you can refer to my notes later on. So I'll have to develop a folder. Time to go.
You jumped it out.
I see you while I'm walking.
No, that's G-Mess and Peace stuff.
A nice violin playing, by the way. I saw your recital online.
Bye, Mr. Kyonya.
Yeah, take care. Good afternoon.